So here in front of me is the legendary iPhone 6s, and you know it because of the design, which is iconic for the iPhone 6, and it also has the S badge under the iPhone logo. But the thing or the feature which I believe that newer iPhones should adopt from this iPhone is, of course, none other than 3D Touch, because this was the first ever iPhone to be shipped with the pressure sensitivity, and it's such a new thing, and especially at that time. And it really does save you time because you can just quickly get inside things and stuff. And it's really a shame that Apple discontinued such a cool feature. But I don't think that we can do anything about it. But I just wanted to point out that this older device is actually more equipped when it comes to that than even the newer iPhones, even the latest iPhones. Because yes, they disabled the 3D touch even on the older devices. So although this display has the pressure sensitivity, it also behaves as if it didn't have it. You can, for example, just check it out. You can just place your finger without applying any force and the toggles are still gonna be activated. So the haptic touch works. But you can also just force press and get inside right away, which is a huge difference compared to iPhone 11 or 10R, or pretty much any of the newer iPhones, which take much longer to do it. Because the iPhone doesn't know if you're pressing firmly or not, it just waits for the long press to be activated. So I definitely believe that the 3D touch should come back to life, although it's not likely that it's gonna happen. There are multiple things, especially for the iPhone 15 Pro or even iPhone 15 Ultra is rumored to be released, but 3D Touch is not even talked about or rumored to be part of that, which is, to be honest, really shame. I really like the feature. Let me know if you have ever used it, because the reason why Apple dropped it was because people had no idea that it even exists, or they weren't interested in that feature, and it cost them money, of course, to implement it. So that's the reason why they discontinued it. But let me know if you actually used it, or is it just me that I want to bring it back, because people don't really talk about it anymore. It seems like we just decided that that's the situation, that we're okay with it, I guess, that we're never going to be using 3D touch again. But I believe that it should definitely come back. It's a nice feature, so I'm really interested to see what others also think about it. And also the reason why they discontinued it, or why it's not being used or popular, was because the iPhone 6s got launched in 2015, of course, but the next year when the iPhone 7 got launched, it wasn't really mentioned in the introduction. Of course, iPhone 7 also features the 3D touch, but it wasn't as pushed as with the iPhone 6s, where the 6s, it was the main campaign, it was the main thing about it. 3D Touch was the biggest new feature. With the iPhone 7, although it was still there, it wasn't advertised and people had no idea about it. The same thing with iPhone 8, iPhone 10, iPhone 10s, and then Apple realized that people don't really care, we can just drop it like that, and that's exactly what happened, which is, I think, really a shame. Of course, some regular users perhaps had no idea that it exists, because perhaps, of course, you can get inside normally. For example, you don't need to hold down or 3D touch on it and go to Wi-Fi this way. You can just come back to the settings and just open it up and go to Wi-Fi normally. So it's not required for anything. The 3D touch is not an essential feature. It means that you can live without it, and it turns out that we can even live with the long press haptic touch. I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see it that way, because an iPhone from 2015, which is 8 years old this year, is actually having more advanced display in terms of that. Of course, not in terms of the resolution or display quality and stuff, but when it comes to pressure sensitivity, it has more. It is, in that regard, it's better than even the one from the 14 Pro. So that's a very interesting dynamic, and I did not expect that to be dropped that soon. So that's why I believe that new iPhones should definitely adopt this feature. We want that. At least, I mean, if Apple doesn't want to implement it to all of the iPhones, or perhaps not to the regular ones, that would be understandable. But on the Pro models or more advanced, if you're paying more for that stuff, perhaps you're okay with it. Even if the display were supposed to be a bit thicker, I don't think that it would be such a big problem for a lot of users, I think it would still be okay if you know that you're actually getting something. So yeah, that's my take on it. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments, and I will catch you guys in the future. Peace.